Hello, friends, and welcome to Happy Monday. Happy Monday podcast. I don't care if you listen to this on Tuesday. A few weeks ago, I was given a few questions from people. They were coming to me because they were having some challenges at work. And I want to share the question and then share the framework that I use to apply to any situation to help me think through what it is that I'm feeling. Let me share with you this question or this comment. I'm consistently alone at work, or I feel alone at work. And this particular person was asked to come back to work and to come back into the office. And I think this is something that's happening across the board, is that because we spend so much time in a remote situation or away from other people, we become accustomed to being alone, even when we are in a room full of people. And so to this, I apply the framework ACE. ACE stands for awareness, communication, and energy. So the first thing is to become aware. What are you feeling and thinking about the situation without having to do with anybody else, but for yourself? And so I asked this person, I'm like, hey, so tell me, how is this affecting you? What are you feeling and thinking about it? And said, well, the situation is that I used to be more social, but I'm finding that I'm not as social anymore. And when I come to work, I just feel like I'm doing the same thing at my office that I could have been doing in my home office. And I'm not engaging and interacting. I said, so how many interactions throughout the day do you have with your team? And I went through that whole sequence of understanding how much interaction they're having, but also what's the quality of interaction they're having? And of course, if you rate it from a scale from 1 to 10, 1 being, not that great and 10 being fantastic, they were like at a 3. I said, so talk to me about, first of all, how you're feeling about that. And then what are some things you can do to improve yourself from, going from a 3 to a 4, for example. I said, well, you know what, perhaps what I can do is in the morning when I walk in, instead of just walking right to my desk, I can, say hello to people. I'm like, okay, that's cool. How would you feel by doing that? I'm like, oh, you know what? Just thinking about it makes me feel a little bit better because I'm realizing that it's my interaction with people that will make a difference. Okay, cool. So, and we went through a couple other scenarios, and just essentially what we're looking to do is to shift how you're thinking and feeling about something when you become aware of what the problem is. Second thing is communicate. Communicate could be anything from communicating to yourself internally, like, hey, what do I need? What am I saying to myself internally? What's my internal dialogue about the situation? How am I communicating to myself about the situation? And then, is there something I can do or someone I can talk to help improve that? Perhaps is talking to a manager, or heck, talking to a colleague. I remember one time I was working in a situation where we started to have a lot of managers in our workplace, and I thought, hey, instead of waiting for the managers or the directors to put us together, why don't we all get together and hang out and have a conversation and talk about work situation, what's going on? And people agree. They go, actually, that's a pretty good idea. So we don't always have to wait for leaders, right, who are in positions of power to do things. We can take our own initiative and do something about it. So communicate with other people what's going on for you, how you feel, find someone in the environment that you trust to have a conversation. And thirdly is energy. Energy, I divide energy and conscious energy into 3 levels. I call the red zone, the yellow zone, and then the overall blue zone. The red zone is when we have feelings about something, feelings and thoughts about something. Those feelings and thoughts may make us feel one or 2 ways. Either, oh man, why is this happening to me all the time? Woe is me, sort of a victim mentality, or anger, frustration, right? You're like, oh man, I hate this place. This is terrible. Why, I can't stand it anymore. And those 2 energy levels will keep pulling you into a place of disparity. You keep pulling you into a place that you don't feel like you have any solution. And so the way to bridge between those emotions to the emotion of, for example, what I call the yellow zone, which is a bridge between level 1 and 2, or the red zone, as I call it, energy and emotion, to more of a, this may not be great, but what else can I do? What can I do differently? How can I approach the situation differently? And when you start even thinking in that perspective, you start to feel a little bit better, which will then open your mind, and it will give literally your brain the opportunity to breathe and to come up with another solution. And then from there, you get into more collaborative state, a creative state, and then in a state where, we're all in this together. But in order to bridge between the red zones to the yellow to even the blue zone, the blue zone is you're always looking for opportunity. You're always looking for ways to make things better. You're looking for the positivity and the high level of energy, positive energy in situations. But it's hard to go to level blue energy, for example, from a level 1, 2, or level red zone, when your mind and your feeling are more unresourceful, right? Some people call it negative, we call it unresourceful. So if you're feeling lonely at work, by all means, recognize how it's impacting you. What are you thinking and saying about that feeling, that situation and feeling, and then find other people in the environment that can help you to basically, if what you want is more connection, make more connections. Ultimately, the way you are at work, your happiness at work, you're 100% responsible for it. It's not your manager, it's not the company, it's not the culture, it's you as an individual. Because how you show up individually will impact the environment in a much, much bigger way. All right, friends, that's it for our Happy Monday conversation. I'll come back to you next Monday. If you have things you want to talk about, you want me to give you some thoughts and ideas on how to elevate your emotional state at work and how to bring more joy and happiness to work, send me a DM. Let me know what the situation is. I may showcase it here in this Happy Monday podcast and give you some solutions. Talk to you next time.